Have you ever noticed how success always seems like something that's just around the corner? We think, once I get that promotion, I'll finally be successful. Or, once I save this much money, I'll feel accomplished. But somehow, when we reach that point, success moves again, a few steps further away, almost like chasing the horizon. Hi, this is Nathan, and welcome back to The Long Game. I want to start today by saying thank you. Truly. I read every single comment, every message, and I can't tell you how much your words mean. Even though I can't always reply, between work and raising my little ones, please know that I see you, and I appreciate you being here. So, let's talk about something that's been on my mind lately. This idea that success isn't somewhere we arrive, but something we live, day by day. Because the more I look around, the more I realize the happiest, most fulfilled people aren't chasing milestones. They're practicing mastery in motion. They show up every single day and build quietly. Not because they've made it, but because building is the point. Think about a musician. When they practice scales, it's not glamorous. There's no applause, no audience. But those invisible hours create the sound that moves the world later. And the same applies to us, whether you're building a business, raising a family, or just trying to live a better day than yesterday. We live in a world that rewards highlights, posts, trophies, headlines, numbers. But behind every overnight success are thousands of ordinary, repetitive, unseen moments. Moments when no one's watching. Moments when quitting would have been easier, but someone kept going. The truth is, real success isn't what you achieve, it's who you become through the process. It's not a destination, it's a daily rhythm. And that rhythm, that practice, starts small. It's how you wake up, how you show up, how you keep promises to yourself. So today, I want to invite you to look at success differently. Not as a faraway goal, but as a craft. Something you get to practice every day, like breathing, like learning, like loving. When you approach success this way, you stop asking, "When will I get there?" and start realizing you're already on the path. Because maybe the real measure of success isn't how far you've gone, but how faithfully you keep walking, even on quiet days. And in the next part, we'll talk about how to build that rhythm, how to turn success from an event you wait for into a habit that defines who you are. When you start seeing success as a daily practice instead of a finish line, something inside you begins to shift. You stop chasing and start creating. You stop comparing your path to others and start listening to your own rhythm. That's when the noise outside begins to quiet down and the work in front of you starts to feel meaningful again. Because let's be honest, most of us have been conditioned to chase outcomes, grades, job titles, awards, revenue goals, subscribers. It's how the world measures progress. But here's the thing, those are lagging indicators. They show up after the real work has already been done. The real success happens long before anyone sees it. It happens in those early mornings when you choose to show up even when no one's clapping for you. It happens in the late evenings when you review your mistakes and decide to improve just one small thing tomorrow. It happens in those quiet, invisible moments when you choose consistency over comfort and reflection over distraction. That's what I mean by practice. Practice isn't glamorous. It's often repetitive, sometimes boring. But inside that repetition is something sacred: momentum. Each small action compounds. Each decision to keep going, even when it feels slow, is like adding one more brick to a foundation that no storm can move. If you think about athletes, they don't train only when they feel inspired. They train because the discipline itself becomes identity. And that's the shift we all need, from doing success to being successful. When success becomes part of who you are, you no longer depend on motivation to act. You act because that's simply your way of living. I like to think of it as building muscle memory for growth. At first, every repetition feels like effort, but over time, it becomes rhythm, a kind of quiet, confident movement you carry through your day. You don't need validation anymore, because the act of showing up has already become its own reward. And maybe you felt that before, the peace that comes after doing something small but meaningful, finishing a workout, reading a chapter, writing a paragraph. You realize it's not about the size of the task, but about the presence you bring into it. That focus, that mindfulness, is the essence of success as a daily practice. Because when you train yourself to find joy in the process, you've already won half the battle. You've turned effort into fulfillment. And that's when your growth stops depending on external recognition. It becomes self-sustaining, like a fire that feeds itself. In the next part, we'll dive deeper into how to design your daily system, how to turn that philosophy into action, so that success naturally flows from the way you live, not from how hard you chase it. Let's talk about how to actually build success into your day, not as something extra, but as something natural. Because when people think about success, they often imagine massive plans, long hours, or big leaps. But in reality, the people who go the farthest are those who learn to design their lives around steady, repeatable progress. The first step is rhythm. Every successful person has one, a structure that keeps them grounded. For some, it's waking up early and writing before the world wakes. For others, it's a midday walk that resets the mind. It doesn't matter what it looks like. What matters is that it's yours and it's consistent. Because rhythm builds identity. When you keep promises to yourself every day, even the small ones, you begin to trust yourself again. You stop negotiating with your goals. You stop over-planning and start doing. You realize that progress isn't born from intensity. It's born from consistency. And that's the quiet truth. You don't need to do more. You just need to do what matters again and again. A simple system that's repeated beats an ambitious plan that's abandoned. That's how you make success inevitable, by making it part of your normal day, not something you chase only when life is convenient. Let's say you want to become financially independent. Instead of waiting for a big break, you focus on one simple daily act: learning something new about investing, tracking your expenses, or saving a small percentage automatically. Each tiny action feels insignificant in isolation, but over time, it becomes identity. I'm someone who manages money wisely. That identity quietly compounds into outcomes. Or maybe your goal is emotional growth. You start journaling 5 minutes a day. You pause before reacting. You practice gratitude for small wins. It may not feel like transformation at first, but months later, you'll notice your reactions are calmer, your thoughts clearer, your peace deeper. That's what happens when practice becomes part of who you are. We tend to underestimate how much ordinary routines shape extraordinary lives. Because our brains crave visible milestones, trophies, numbers, followers. But the foundation of all that is built quietly in the mundane, in how you handle mornings, setbacks, conversations, and even rest. And I want to pause and say, if you're already doing that, if you've been quietly showing up for yourself in ways no one sees, please know that it counts. You're already living the practice of success. Even if the world hasn't recognized it yet, what you're building is trust in your own path. And that's far more powerful than applause. In the next part, we'll bring it all together, how to sustain this mindset for the long game, and how to redefine success in a way that keeps you growing without ever losing peace along the way.
If there's one thing I hope you take away from this series, it's that success isn't something waiting at the end of the road. It's something that lives in how you walk the road every single day. Because when success becomes a practice, not a prize, you free yourself from the pressure of getting there and start finding joy in being here. Let's imagine your life as a garden. You don't plant a seed and demand fruit tomorrow. You water, you wait, you nurture. And some days it rains too hard, some days it doesn't rain at all. But still, you show up to care for it because you know growth isn't instant, it's seasonal. That's what daily practice is like, showing up with patience even when progress is invisible. The most fulfilled people I met share one thing in common. They've learned to love the ordinary. They don't need to feel on top of the world every week. They find joy in small, meaningful repetitions, morning rituals, quiet focus, steady movement. They've realized that meaning hides in maintenance, in the unseen moments that shape who we become. And that's a mindset shift worth holding on to. Because when you see success as a daily act, you stop treating effort as a sacrifice and start seeing it as self-respect. You stop chasing the applause because the act of showing up becomes the reward itself. You begin to measure success not by outcomes, but by alignment, how closely your days match your values. The truth is, lasting success feels peaceful, not loud. It's not the adrenaline of achievement, but the quiet satisfaction of integrity. It's knowing that you're doing what matters, even when no one's watching, even when it's slow. And once you taste that kind of peace, you'll never want to trade it for the stress of chasing validation again. If you've ever felt behind, like your progress is slower than others, remember this: mastery loves time. The long game always rewards patience, because compounding doesn't just happen in money, it happens in skill, in reputation, in self-awareness, in relationships. And every small act of consistency adds another layer to who you're becoming. So maybe the real question isn't, am I there yet? But did I live my values today? Did I practice what matters? Did I honor my effort even when no one noticed? Because if the answer is yes, then you're already successful. Not someday, not in theory, but right now, in motion. Thank you, truly, for walking this journey with me, for listening, reflecting, and growing together, even in the small ways. I see you, and I'm grateful you're here, because every listener, every quiet learner, every person who's building something patiently, you're proof that success doesn't need to shout, it just needs to be lived. Until next time, keep showing up for your practice, because the destination isn't out there, It's already happening one intentional day at a time. This is Nathan, and you've been listening to The Long Game.